Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be reviewing the iGPSPORT SR30 bike, rear, taillight, and radar. While iGPSPORT is best known for their budget-friendly bike GPS computers, they also have a wide range of bike lights and now a radar unit. In this review, we're going to be looking at the SR30 bike taillight and radar combination, which offers a lot of competitive features at a low price point. In terms of packaging, it's really simple. You have a cardboard box, a nice glossy representation of the radar right on top of it, basic specs printed on the side, and illustrations on the rear. We'll go ahead and open this up and we'll go over the specs. Retail price on this is $119.99, so it definitely undercuts the Garmin units. It has a 150 meter detection range, which is quite competitive. And then you also have a multi-element taillight. So you have side markers as well as the top indicator, or the main LED front indicator. You can see there's a nice tray here holding all the accessories underneath it. This is a 65 lumen taillight, so quite bright. You have a Garmin quarter turn style mount and USB Type-C recharging port. In terms of what comes with it, obviously you get the taillight, which looks pretty nice. You have the instruction manual, and then you have all the accessories in a little plastic bag. Go ahead and open this up. You can see we have tons of options here. So we have USB Type-C charging cable. We have multiple rubber pads here. So whether you have an aero seat post, they have a little separate backing, or standard seat post, you can see you have both of those. You have a seat post mount. This is the main plastic piece, and then you put the rubber pieces inside it. You have a lanyard, which is kind of interesting. You only typically see that for your computers. You don't typically see that for the rear radar, but it does have a spot for it. Multiple O-rings to handle different diameter seat posts. So if you have an aero one, you can use a longer one, and if you have a smaller seat post, you can use one of the smaller variations. So pretty much everything you need to get started and using it. Now let's take a look at the weight of the radar. So the SR30 by itself comes in at 69 grams. Then we can grab a standard seat post with one of the medium-sized rings. And that comes in at 38 grams. Visually, the iGPSPORT SR30 has a sleek rectangular profile with a large flat radar detection surface. There's a focus LED on the top. And then you can see you have side markers with this red lens that kind of wraps around it. It's hard to ignore the fact that this looks a lot like the Garmin Varia, so I've definitely drawn inspiration from it, which is why it looks really familiar. It just has a slightly different taillight design, so instead of having a big focused one, you can see it's focused here, but it has this kind of triangular shape lens on it. You can see if you turn it on, you do have that focused one, but you can see it's a little different design. The side markers are really nice though, so really illuminated. And then you can see it sort of illuminates some of the transparent red portion around it. You have a single button on top, so a power button to turn it on and off. A little indicator light on the bottom that indicates whether the radar is on. And then on the back, you have a standard Garmin quarter turn style mount, which is really nice to see here. So that means you can use this with just about any mounts already on the market. It is in a different orientation than the actual Garmin Varia. That one is actually vertical with the tabs being on the top and bottom. This one's horizontal, but with most mounts you can actually rotate that. The mount that's included is actually pretty nice. So a big rubber pad behind it and a plastic base. And that one has little hooks where you'd wrap the O-ring around and then rotate it around your seat post. This also has a little bit of an incline into it, so you can see it's designed to offset your seat post, which is usually at an angle backwards. So this will offset that and make this parallel. You want to make sure the radar surface is parallel with the ground. So you want a nice clear line of sight behind you. So you want to mount this high up enough. And because this uses a standard Garmin quarter turn style mount, you can get a saddle rail mount from other manufacturers or use different seat post mounts. As far as the taillight LED design, you can see again, very similar to the Garmin. You have this transparent body here, 2 LED markers, so you can see one LED there, another one here, and then on the front one is more focused. So you can see when you look directly at it, it's nice and bright. You have 6 different output modes too. So you have your standard low highs, daytime, nighttime flashes, And then there even is a radar only mode. So if you cycle through all the modes, this is the radar only mode. And the way you know it's on is you can see that blue light blinking here. So this is radar only if you want to conserve the taillight, say during the day, and you have a separate daytime bright taillight, you can just use the radar only. This is 65 lumens, so pretty bright, but not the brightest on the market. And you can see very sleek design overall. The controls on this are really simple. Single press to cycle through the modes, long press to turn it off, and then you have a USB Type-C charging port on the back side. So a nice rubber cover too, so you can see USB Type-C is great to see on the modern devices. Pushes down and then it's nice and flush. Now let's take a look at the output modes of the taillight. There's 6 different modes. They're not customizable. They're just factory set. 2 constant modes, a 20 lumen high and a peloton, which is 6. You have a pulse, which turns off, on, and then kind of gradually goes up at 20 lumen. A steady nighttime flash, which is 20 lumen. And then daytime flash, which is the maximum 65 lumen output. There also is a radar only mode, so that 6 mode turns off the taillight but keeps the radar performance. Here you can see some riding footage, and you can see with that focused LED, it does a pretty good job of being visible even in this bright sun. It's not quite as bright as some other radars we've used, but at 65 lumen and the focused LED still works well. iGPSPORT claims a 20-hour runtime. We saw about 15 or 16. So it really depends on how much traffic you see, but still have much longer runtime than some other computers on the market, which means you don't have to charge them. Daytime flash actually works pretty well too, so here you can see a little bit closer. Nice and bright, and also updates the pattern when it detects a vehicle. It's a pretty short update window, so you can see when the vehicle shows up, it does a couple quick flashes and goes back to the original one. So it's not the best taillight on the market, but you do have the side visibility, and you do have the combination of that focus LED, which is good visibility from longer distances. Again, it doesn't match the Trek CarBack or some other radars on the market, but still does a good job. Now let's take a look at the radar performance on the road. On the left side, we have a view of our computer with the radar connected, and on the right side, we have a rear-facing camera. As you can see, it does a pretty good job when you have a fast approaching vehicle from a longer distance away. It picks it up well before you'll hear it. Then as it comes closer, the radar quickly updates, and the colors will indicate how fast they're going relative to you. So everything seems to be pretty well dialed in, which we're actually surprised of. A lot of these newer radars, especially from the smaller companies, just don't have the refinement of the Garmin or Trek radars. But with this one, it looks like it is dialed in. And that's probably because it's actually been out for a while, so they've definitely had a few firmware updates. And it looks like any bugs that may have been there have been dialed out. So overall, pretty impressed. It's pretty reliable. We haven't had a lot of false positives. And you can see the only downside of this one is in heavier traffic, it's not quite as reliable at picking up all the cars at the same time, but once they get a little closer, it can decipher between them. You also have a nice wide 20-degree range with this radar pattern, so you'll definitely see around corners. The only downside of that is, like the Garmin and other computers that have this wider range, when you're on a bike trail next to the road, it'll still pick up the cars and warn you about them, even though you're on a separate road. But otherwise, pretty nice radar, and at only $120, they definitely undercut the competition and offer a lot of the same features. So iGPSPORT has definitely done a good job looking at the market and matching the features. Here we have the Bryton Gardia. You can see similar form factor. They both have the rectangular design. They both have the side markers, and they have the focus LED in the middle. The Bryton one is a little bit more modern with the squared shape versus the rounded design, and a matte black versus the darker black color. The iGPSPORT definitely looks more like the Garmin though, with this little red inset. It doesn't illuminate all the way through, but looks a little bit sleeker. The Bryton has USB Type-C, similar features, but a Bryton specific mount. And you can see the mount on this is the same quarter turn style, but again, the tabs are just a little bit thicker, and it uses rubber strap. There also is the Magene / Magicshine CME 508. Again, similar in terms of shape. This one has a glossy plastic, and a LED design, which I don't like quite as much. It's a ring of LEDs versus this really focused one, so you can even see on camera. You don't get that high visibility from further distances away. Otherwise, very similar. Both have the Garmin style mount and similar profile as well. The mount on this one is very similar to the iGPSPORT, just a little bit thinner of an O-ring, and you can see sorry, a little bit more deformed, while the iGP Sport is actually a little bit more robust. Then we have the Trek CarBack. Very different form factor. Trek went with almost a square design, so you can see it's wider, and then it has the flare RT sort of inset inside it for its taillight. So nice high visibility. You can see really focused LED. It's only 90 lumen, but with that lens design, it's a lot nicer than the iGP Sport or the Garmin equivalent. The big downside to the Trek is you don't have side visibility. You'll notice there's no side lights or side markers like you have the iGP Sport. So from higher angles, you can see there's really nothing visible. The nice thing about Trek is, though, they do have a battery gauge. So the iGP Sport will just tell you low battery with the bottom indicator. And with this one, you actually have a multiple LED, so a lot nicer. The mount isn't quite as nice, though. You can see it's their quick mount design, so it just slides on. And you can see the way it's designed, it doesn't have that thick backing. So when it's on a round seat post, it tends to kind of move around, which I don't like as much. While the iGP Sport is a much more durable design and feels a little bit more robust. Now let's go over the pros and cons of the iGP Sport SR30. What I like about it is you have a competitive price. At only $120, it's quite affordable, and it's almost half the price of the Trek or Garmin variations. It also has surprisingly reliable detection and algorithm, so they definitely fine-tuned everything, so you get similar radar performance to Garmin and other competitors. You also have nice side visibility with those separate side markers, so you're visible from any angle, which is always a nice feature. The main cons for this radar is the fact that it does have derivative styling, so it looks a lot like the Garmin one, and I do wish they would have refined it to have a better lens design for that focus LED like the Trek CarBack or other radars on the market, so I think they could have done better rather than just mimicking the style. Also, it does lack a multi-level battery status indicator, so you don't really know how much battery you have until you have a low battery indicator, so it would have been nice if they at least had a multiple level one. Taking everything into account, we give the iGP Sport a 9.1 out of 10. It's a nice budget-friendly alternative to the Garmin. Thanks for watching this review. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can see more content from us on our website at thesweetcyclist.com, as well as follow us on Instagram at thesweetcyclist. This is The Sweet Cyclist reminding you to enjoy the ride.